Here's another example of how to animate some text in a 3D scene. So this scene is similar to the prior one, except that I actually have two different lights in the scene, and I have the camera animated with some keyframes. So if I play the scene, we can see there's a little camera move, and we can also see there's two different sets of shadows because there are two lights. If I use the compass here to go to the perspective view, we can see the two lights, and we get a better sense of the scene. There's the camera over there, and these little icons represent the two lights that are lighting up the scene. It's a very simple scene with a color solid for the floor and no walls in this case. So I'll leave the perspective view and go back to the active camera view and hit Shift-Z to fit it back to the window. So here's what we're going to do. I've got a sequence text behavior already applied and trimmed, but not active in any way. And I want this text to reveal itself by coming up out of the floor. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay the text flat down. And instead of dragging here in the canvas, just to mix things up, I'm going to go to the sequence text behavior where we already have position and rotation added simply by using the Add menu. So for rotation, I'm going to take it in X and move back minus 90 degrees to lay the text flat down. I'm also going to trim the text to start at the beginning of the behavior. So Shift-I to go to the beginning of the behavior, and then the text, I'll press I so it starts right at the beginning. So now the text is flat down by this minus 90 degrees. Let me undo that so we can see it lays it completely down, but it's still above the floor a little bit. So what I'm going to do is take its position in Y and drop it down so it disappears. We can see it just touching the floor there, and then boom, it disappears below the floor. So now, just with those two changes, if I play, the text seems to pop up from out of the floor. Now, it's a little too dramatic, or a little too quick in my estimation, so I'm going to take the spread and increase it to maybe 4, maybe even more. Maybe let's try 6. So we see more letters at once coming up from out of the floor. And the reason they match the color here is because they're being colored by these lights. Just by the way, let me take a look at these lights. These lights actually have a specific color applied. I'll show you if I change the color of one of the lights, how that looks. Because the floor and the text are both colored white by default, they're taking on the color of the lights, and it makes the text completely disappear into the floor. You can see the reason I started with the text above the floor instead of all the way down is because of this descending part of the G, which would be trapped underneath the floor if I didn't do that. So that's why the text starts off above the floor and rotates and moves up in order to be revealed. So another example of applying what we've already learned in this tutorial with the sequence text behavior, but applying it to a 3D scene.